Okay, so we're going to do effleurage through the sheet. So I like to start a massage working through the sheet because it makes the person comfortable. They're all tucked in. And the sheet has some nice glide too for the hands. So it looks like this. I like to start with my heels of my hands on the infraspinatus muscle, right below the spine of the scapula on the shoulder blades, and just pulsate gently. And then I push on the rhomboids right between the shoulder blades, just some gentle compressions. And then I go down the spine with compressions all the way to the hips, and then push on the hips, push the hips away from the spine. And I like to keep one hand on the shoulder blade and then push the other hand down to the hip. This helps to smooth out the fascia. Myofascial release. Smoothing out the fascia is half the job. And I find these stretches really release the muscles quite a bit, so you don't have to work as hard on them. Okay, and then I can go down the arms as well, down to the wrists. Both hands, get the rib cage on the side of the body like that. And just warm them up through the sheet. And then you come down here to the bottom of the table and cross the hands. So one hand is on the top of the hip, the other hand's pushing up on the ribs. And he has a shirt on underneath here, so it's not as pushy as I usually get. But anyway, you go like this, and then you can switch the hands. You just stretch out that lower back with crossed hands. And in myofascial release, you can hold this for, like 30 seconds to a minute, just steady. I have a feel for it since I've done it so long. He doesn't really need so much, actually. And then you can squeeze the neck a little bit. And then one more thing through the sheet, you can make fists and put them on the next to the spine and then turn them in. See, and then you'll get some cracks usually, some subluxations in the thoracic vertebrae. And that can give you some information on the person as well. So if there's subluxations, you can see which vertebrae it is and what it corresponds to. It's usually like liver, heart, lung kind of stuff if they're subluxated. Okay, now we're going to do an effleurage with cream or oil. I'm using cream today. And I like to use a lot of cream. I like a lot of glide here. So just like through the sheet, we go up and down the spine. Get on the shoulder blades. Okay, his skin's pretty oily, so it's not oily, but it's well lubricated, so really didn't have to use a lot of cream, which is unusual. Make sure you get the neck. I also like to reach under the shoulders. Get this nice and lubricated. Okay, after the back has enough cream, so it should really penetrate in, so then it's everywhere, so there's no dry spots. You want to get as much cream on there so it penetrates as deep as it will penetrate and have a nice film on top. Some people put like enough on, it slides a little bit, then it sinks in and it's dry again. So make sure, I think it's best to get it really well penetrated before you move on. Plus your energy just seeps into the skin and into the muscles. Gets it nice and warm. And then you do your elbows, get your forearm and elbows really well lubricated. You can use some forearm strokes, but I like to start at the base of the spine at L5. Kukundara is the marma point. Means what supports the spine. And it's just cool to say Kukundara. And so this point here at the base of the spine sends energy all the way up the spine. It's good for the whole spine. And then you just hold that for a little bit. Then using your medial epicondyle of the elbow, we're just going right up the erector muscle, erector spinae muscles, all the way over the shoulder. And then I like to reach over, put this video in here, and pull the trap. So see how my fingers get into the trap? So fingers on fingers like this, and we pull in, and then come around to the other side, go underneath the shoulder, squeeze the arm, and then come on down. And then another good one is the piriformis goes into the shoulder blade, you come around the shoulder blade like this. So again, start on Kukundara with the elbow, medial epicondyle. Some people use the lateral epicondyle, that's fine too. And then we're coming up the spine slowly. If there's a tight spot, you can hang out on it. All the way up and over the traps, over the levator scapula, hear it click. And then down to the elbow, and then fingers on fingers, get the trapezius. Come around underneath the shoulder, squeeze the arm, and then take your piriformis and go around the shoulder blade. So this is a really nice effleurage, or not effleurage, but good level 1 pressure to start getting the muscles warmer. So effleurage is the lightest pressure, then we do this for secondary, and then we're going to get in specific to his problems, or the deep muscles, or the knots, the tight knots. Okay, after doing that on both sides, we're just going to do the neck a little bit with the thumbs, just to get the entire spine. We're going to come back to the neck later. But thumbs together like this, using it as a tool, and we'll come up right into the occiput. That notch right at the base of the spine, that's the tea kettle spot. It's called the wind palace in Chinese. Helps get rid of excess air. Our air is associated with anxiety, nervous tension. And then we can do some squeezes like this, petrissage, fingers on fingers, and we squeeze the neck like this. Okay, now we're going to come down to the quadratus laborum. This muscle connects to the bottom of lowest rib to the top of the pelvis. And most people have an issue here. So I use thumb on thumb like this, and I'm holding it gently. And it can be quite tender. Usually only one side is tender and not the other. Sometimes both, but it can, even if it's a big burly person, a light pressure will still be, feel quite uncomfortable to them. So you just want to get that right pressure, a therapeutic pressure where you're helping it to release without making them suffer too much. This doesn't feel too bad. It's actually pretty good. Is that tender there?
Maybe a little bit.
Does it feel good or neutral?
It's all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice tune-up. I can tell like it's sending some energy to your kidneys. This muscle also helps your kidneys when you work it out. But like I said, there's nothing major going on there. Let's look at this side. Yeah, that's very rare to not. You don't have any trigger points on this. I picked a bad example. I mean, he feels it when I dig in here, but it's just helping strengthen his muscle. There's nothing major going on. And usually, when one side's tighter, one leg's going to be shorter than the other because this muscle pulls the hip up. Okay, so but these muscles are important to inspect. You should do that every time, unless you know the client for a long time and they have deeper issues you need to spend time on. But it's always good just to hit that a little bit. Now we're going to do erector spinae. See how I have both elbows together, starting in Kukundara L5, and then we go up the spine. And it's hard to do on the side, but if you have a client that you know, and let me see, you can get up on the table, move your feet together. See how I have my elbows in here, and this is so comfortable. This is a walk through the park. I mean, I'm just leaning here, and it's a rest for me, but for him, you can get deep pressure. And his lower back is very good. You know, I don't see many backs with this good. He does yoga. Maybe that's part of it. And then I know it is part of it. But then you can take both of these elbows and come up the back. If there's any subluxation, he had some subluxations here. If I didn't get it earlier, they would pop right now. And then all the way up. Okay, then you can take your forearm and wipe it a little bit. So I like to pulsate a little bit and then just up like that. Okay. And although he's not in great need of this, you know, it's a nice tune-up for his kidneys, for his lower back. Okay, now we're going to come up here and get around the shoulder blade. So thumb on thumb like this. Like to get under there and just kind of roll around. You know, just in the beginning, always do a slow, like not so deep in the beginning. You're just like talking to the tissues, hearing what they have to say. And then you can start to get deeper. Just go around there. And then elbow, arm behind the back. If it goes, if it doesn't, don't worry about it. Not everybody can get their arm there. And you can get in here like this, push down, or maybe use your elbow and go around, get those rhomboid muscles. Rhomboid major, rhomboid minor, connecting the shoulder blades to the spine. They retract your shoulder blades. Okay, and then you do that on the other side. And then we'll come to the shoulder blade itself, the infraspinatus. So you have your spine and your scapula. I'm just going to go underneath that spine with the thumbs, thumb on thumb like that again. And again, there's not much work for me to do here. So he's got nice physique, good muscle tone, and this is a nice little pick me up, but haven't found any significant trigger points yet. Okay, so that's the infraspinatus, and I do the same on the other side. And then we come up to the traps and we squeeze the traps like this. Okay, I'm going to get the traps more when I sit down. And then again, here, if you feel like if they have a lot of stiffness in the neck, you can use your thumbs on the neck. But when we sit down in front of them, we'll do this neck a lot more. And then some more petrissage could be done here, depending on the person, you know. The body's like a dam. It has, well, it's supposed to be a river, but there's usually a few dams. So we want to break those dams apart. And when you break a dam up, it just sends way more energy, way more water through the whole river. So just the focus should always be on the dams, and everything else could be done superficially. Okay, so if somebody were having lower back issues, usually the muscles below the painful spot are a big part of the problem. And so let's say the lumbar vertebrae, there's pain in this area. You would go to the glutes. Right in this area next to the sacrum, right under the hip. This is gluteus medius trigger point 1. And you just use your elbow in there and push on that. So this is really part, even though I like to do the glutes later when I take the sheet off and I can use cream on the glute, depending on the person's issues. But I always kind of like to get this as part of the spine. And then also with fist, you can use fist and pummel in here like that.